All right, Ms. White, are you arguing this issue?
Your Honor. So we obviously review our objection and just honestly just highlight a couple things about the fact that this is just character evidence. Specifically, there's conversations where Ms. Andrews is saying, I won't do this to you, I wouldn't do that to you. And that's kind of what this goes back and forth. Any conversation that is, I believe, what the state is suggesting is related to gangs is not on behalf of Ms. Andrews. It's on behalf of someone else who, again, is not charged in this case. And outside of being alleged to have been a gang member, is not connected to this case at all, specifically these charges. So we reject again based on that information. But if the court is going to allow it in, we believe for context purposes, everything should come in. Everything about the romance and I just want to be a good person and I don't want to be involved in this, all that information should come in before the jury as well, even though we believe it's not relevant.
Okay.
Proper character evidence.
So sounds like they want the whole thing to come in.
Okay. We don't,
No, I know. Absent your objections, but if you're forced to choose between a redacted version or a complete version, you would opt for complete, correct?
Correct. We don't believe that the state should be allowed to cherry pick information.
Well, they were cherry picking. They were doing what I asked them to do.
Well, I mean, as far as redaction,
right.
they should be allowed to place only into evidence the information that appears to be negative towards Ms. Andrews.
Sure. Okay. So then I'll overrule the objection. The whole thing come in.
Your Honor, I just need a few seconds to wrap up and let the witness know about that.
Sure.
But if we can please, if there's any objection to the other items, address that first.
Okay. What other item?
So there is a 75C12.
Okay.
Through 16 that are being added, Your Honor.
Wait, 75C 12 and 13.
Through 16.
12 through 16. Okay. What are these?
We're talking about the first.
Well, State, just tell me what they are, and then I'll hear what the objection is.
Additional instructions from Ms. Andrews' devices.
Okay. Can I look at them?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what are the objections? Let's start with C12. And let the jury know we just had something come up and we'll be with them shortly.
Your Honor, I'm going to mention
Sure. Okay, C12 is, looks like photographs, thumbnail.
Correct.
So those are screenshots, I believe, or maybe photos of Ms. Andrews and two individuals that I don't even believe the state will be able to establish who they are. I don't know how they're going to establish that. I will let them, talk about why they want to get them in. But from our perspective, again, they have absolutely nothing to do with this case. And you're going to see a pattern between 13 or 12 to 16 that is, again, an attempt to introduce improper character evidence by the state to, I don't know, I guess the argument is that alleged that she has knowledge, and I just don't know how far this is going to go, Your Honor.
Well, I don't know. I'm guessing. I'll let the state answer, but it's something to do with the alleged gang sign. Is that what this is?
That is correct, Your Honor, and the date at which that photo was taken or was retrieved from Ms. Andrews' device as having been captured on that device predates when she gave her statement of when she knew this co-defendant, Mr. Chance, and several questions were asked on cross-examination yesterday regarding whether they knew whether Ms. Andrews had the photos or screenshots were taken that were introduced versus her co-defendant. These would have been before the co-defendant's involvement.
I don't think that's an accurate characterization of what we were asking. There were specific photos that the state was referencing. The question was whether or not that witness could testify as to whether Ms. Andrews had the phone at the time those screenshots were taken. So it's not about every phone that was backed up, every picture that was backed up on her iCloud device. That's not what the question was about. There were, I believe, 3 specific photos that we asked the question about whether or not that witness could say Ms. Andrews took these screenshots or she was the person who did it.
Well, Detective Grayback had his question about is the phone, I guess her phone, I don't know, I've heard this, that it disappeared, was no longer available, something along those lines.
That device has not ever been recovered.
Never been recovered. So then she gets a new phone on, I think it was June the 26th, correct? And then the download happens on the 26th, correct?
Correct, from iCloud.
From iCloud.
Which is the device that disappeared, Your Honor. This would have been information that would, the iCloud was taken.
Right.
So, yeah.
Detective Grayback was questioned about his knowledge and if he knew who downloaded those photos originally and when they would have been downloaded. And there were specific questions on cross-examination noting the date of June the 26th, and definitely the implication was, and I think actually Mr. McLymont asked the detective if he knew if there was any evidence that Ms. Andrews at times lent her phone to Mr. Chance. That was asked.
Which has been testified to by the state's witnesses. That's a no fact.
Okay.
No one's disputing that. It was the state who implied that because she only had the phone for a day or so, that somehow that meant information was missing, even though they have the entire iCloud with 370,000 different artifacts. So I guess the implication was that there was some information missing. The point is, the information is from the iCloud, it's not the device. I can throw my phone in the river and download my entire iCloud and get the exact same things on my new iPhone that I have on my old iPhone. But the bigger issue is the questions that were asked specifically about the photos that were attempted to be entered into evidence yesterday. They were not about every photo that exists in her iCloud. But I think the even bigger issue is, Your Honor, where does this end? At what point are they not allowed to just keep introducing irrelevant information about, the 50 different gang members that she lives, within a 5-mile radius of that she's come across? They can't even tell us who this person is. They won't even be able to establish who that person is. Whether or not she slapped him in the face and said, "Why did you throw that sign up?" They can't. None of that matters, though. It's not relevant to the allegations in this case. This is becoming a please find her guilty because she knows gang members case. That at least 70% of what we discussed about Ms. Andrews is about who she knows and not how she's connected to this murder. And at some point, it has to stop, Your Honor.
Okay, let me take a look at the other ones real quick. So that is C12, C13. It looks like these are photographs again.
It's actually a video, but there's only one still from the video, Your Honor. You can see the last page of the still from the video.
Right, okay. And what's the significance of that?
The individual depicted in this image is the individual that Ms. Andrews is messaging with, or the messages that we just looked at that the state was providing potential redactions to. He is a member of the opposing group, and those messages are pretty clear as to what it relates to their conversation. This is them in a relationship prior to her involvement with ATK and 1200.
So is this the K Shorty or is this someone else? This is K Shorty. Okay.
And if I recall, Your Honor, I believe the point of this entire text thread was not to show that they were in a relationship, to show that she had knowledge that he had some sort of gang involvement. And if that's the case, why does this photo matter? Other than to show the jury that she's cozying up with gang members. That's the entire point of all of these exhibits, Your Honor. And well,
but then she's.
I mean, it would mean that she's pretty much aware of all this gang stuff then. it would mean that she pretty much got full knowledge of all this gang stuff.
Taking photos and saving them to her phone of herself with gang members making gang signs.
My response to that is so what? Why does that matter to you guys?
Well, to me, it seems like it goes to the weight the jury is supposed to give as opposed to admissibility.
But this is the way to what, Your Honor.
Okay, first of all, you guys stood up in opening statement, okay? And you told this jury, and there is no evidence she's a gang member. Or that she's associated with gang members.
It's not just, it's further than that, Your Honor.
I'm not done. So you get up in opening statement and you say, this was just a romantic getaway. She thought she was going with her boyfriend somewhere.
Exactly.
She didn't know any of these individuals involved.
Exactly.
She had no idea that this was going to be a gang-related anything.
Thank
That's
you.
what you told this jury in
That's
opening
what she
statement.
told them.
Because she didn't know the individuals involved in this murder.
Okay.
And they haven't shown you any evidence of that.
yeah,
They're
but-
going on a rampage about 50 people that are not involved in this case. We did not say that she didn't know any gang members.
Yes.
What we said is that she did not know Davion Murphy, Rashad Murphy. We haven't heard anything about that. We heard Sean Galbraith's grandma testify. I've never seen her before. There's no evidence even that they even have a relationship outside of her knowing who she was. But again, Your Honor, what does that have to do with this murder? I'm sorry.
Bro, y'all whole opening statement killed y'all case. Remember they said she was just going on a getaway with her boyfriend. Wanted to spend some alone time with her boyfriend. She didn't come for none of this other stuff. She didn't even know these other people was gonna be there. And she's not a gang member. And then so how is she then in an abusive relationship if all she's thinking about is having a great time on a getaway with her boyfriend? How is that the person that's in an abusive relationship getting forced to do all these things? How does all of that work if her perspective is she's going on a getaway with her boyfriend? It just doesn't fit.
Counsel is like talking sideways in my ear. It's very distracting.
Okay? All right, let's look at the next one, which is C14. And what is this?
This is a screenshot of J. Breezy's music video that was also saved to the device in 2019. There were some indications regarding the earlier, screen shares or whatever, or screenshots that were taken in the case that the gang detectives talked about. But most importantly, J. Breezy is linked to this case as having provided payment to Ms. Andrews' boyfriend. Ms. Andrews had obviously testified in her interview, and we expected to come out of testimony that she was not with that boyfriend at this time, putting her having knowledge of this individual at the time of at least this screenshot, which would have been back in 2019. He's the one who provided payment to Mr. Chance for the Airbnb before Mr. Chance provides payment for the Airbnb this time.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. So this is a screenshot of, I didn't see which one it was. This is a screenshot of a music video?
Yes. So I'm going to sustain the objection as to C14. Okay? All right, let's move on to the next one, C15.
15 and 16 are both screenshots from what was discussed by the detectives yesterday relating to the self-evidence that they had seen or observed with this defendant's communication with ATK Keys or Marquis Working.
And what is it? What is it I'm looking at?
These are both 15 and 16 are screenshots that were saved to Ms. Andrews' device. It is an Instagram chat, so when you open up your messages on Instagram, it is the chain of the messages. These messages depict her messages with an ATK Keys, which has been identified as Marquis Working.
And these are from 2020?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, she all in the game.
Okay.
She all in the mix.
So at this time, I'm going to sustain the objection as to these. Now, they may become relevant at some point. See, testimony is. And I'm going to overrule the objection as to 75C12 and 75C13. Okay?
And Your Honor, just so that's not when the jury comes in, we also, if they don't leave, they'll even be able to get testimony as to who those individuals are. And let me confirm, you allotted, was it 13?
The screenshots that show Ms. Andrews with the other individuals as direct evidence of her knowledge.
Yeah, so that we can avoid a potential argument. If your argument is authentication, these items were obtained from the device download that was obtained pursuant to a search warrant from law enforcement for the device. So I'm not sure what the legal objection is, but
I mean, there's a lot of legal objections, but the biggest one is that in order for these, I guess, to become relevant, but who's going to establish who these individuals are? Just because they're on her phone and they got, certification.
I know the state has to. Okay, so we'll see. All right.
We'll see how they play it out.
maybe
Let's see.
60 seconds, Your Honor.